The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Now, as Jesus and his disciples went on their way, he entered a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. She had a sister named Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to what he was saying. But Martha was distracted by her many tasks. So she came to Jesus and asked, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to do all the works by myself? Tell her then to help me." But the Lord answered her, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things. There is need of only one thing. Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken away from her." This is the gospel of the Lord. Trying to figure out where I can get the breeze from the fan over in the corner. So here we go. That means a long homily, by the way, if I can stay cool. This weekend is the last homily of this 3-homily message series entitled The Ultimate Road Trip, Essentials for the Highway to Heaven. If you've missed any of the previous ones, go to chathamcatholic.ca. There's a link there to look at them. I want to start, some people might not be able to see this, but if you get a chance, take a look at some of the photos from the James Webb Telescope. Kind of the furthest pictures of the depths of the universe, and this is just one of the many pictures that really made me think about, and when you kind of take a look at the series of them, that we're learning more and more about the universe and more about the world, how majestic God's grace is, how powerful and how beautiful our world is. And the more we discover about the universe, I think the more we understand how mighty God is and how beautiful the universe can be. So if you get a chance, and it kind of reminds us that there is this highway to heaven. There is this opportunity for us to journey to the kingdom of God, and God is all wonderful for us, and we need to embrace him in this journey. In the first homily, just a very quick recap, there are two things I pointed out. The first is kind of these rules or these essentials for the highway to heaven. The first one was that you need to stay focused on your destination. You know, we have to stay focused on the kingdom of heaven, and then our decisions that we make each day kind of help us stay on that focus, stay on that path, and we need to obey the traffic laws. Just like you're driving on a road trip, got to follow the rules to get to your destination. God has given us through Christ this way of life that we're called to. And I talked about my couple of trips to the Dayton Hamvention. If you have no idea what it is, that's okay, watch the homily from week 1. In the second homily, 2 other essentials. The first one was, in the second homily, we are sent on mission together following God's plan. So we're not on this highway to heaven alone, and we're not on this highway to heaven according to our own plans. We have to follow God's plans. Like if we go on a trip, we get to choose where to go and what to do, where we're going to stay. Now, Father Darius is leaving for Poland tomorrow on holiday, well-deserved holiday. We're praying for him as a safe trip. He'll be gone for a month, so Father Robert and I are praying for a very peaceful next 4 weeks. Father Darius has planned out his trip, going to visit his mother, who is very anxious for him to come home. And so we kind of can pick what we're going to do. And I think Father Darius is going to try to just relax. But if we're on this journey to heaven, God kind of dictates to us where we're supposed to go, because the fullness of our lives is following Him, loving and serving. And so if we're going to go on this highway to heaven, we got to follow God's plans. And we have to allow the journey to pass through us. And I shared a little bit about one of my mission trips to Kenya, to Poland on a pilgrimage. We have to appreciate the experiences in our lives. So often we're like many tourists, where we take a whole bunch of pictures and then come home to find out what we saw. But we have to kind of absorb and embrace the experiences, the good ones, but also the challenges, to see where God is in the midst of those. And those experiences shape us as disciples and messengers of the good news. So this last homily, just 2 points. Again, we need to spend time with Jesus, and we need to live out our faith in action. And the gospel today of Martha and Mary teach us this as we journey on this highway to heaven. In the gospel we just heard, she had a sister named Mary who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to what He was saying. If we're going to travel on this pilgrimage together to the kingdom of heaven, supporting, caring one another, to stay focused on that destination, to be able to follow all the traffic rules, to follow a disciple's life, we need to spend time with the Lord. Like Mary did, who sat at the feet of Jesus and listened and asked questions and was trying to understand more and more of who He was, but also how she was called to live her life. And we are called to do that every day in our personal prayer, here as we gather together for Mass, those praying with us online. All these ways to spend time growing in a friendship, in a relationship, trusting Jesus. We cannot live lives of faith being so busy not to have an opportunity to connect with Him and allow the Lord to fill our hearts. Because we can become a little bit too much like Martha, as we heard in the gospel. But Martha was distracted by her many tasks. So she came to Jesus and asked, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself?" Sometimes we can really get distracted by many good things, but forget what's the best. We can get distracted by work. We can get distracted by our hobbies or different things, surfing the internet and watching TikTok. Yeah, people do it, right? We can get distracted and slowly kind of drift off the path. And in this case, with Martha and Mary, they've invited a guest. Jesus has come to their home, and Mary sits and connects with the guests. Martha is not. Maybe there's times where you've invited people over, you're running around making sure the food's ready, all this is ready, all this is ready, make sure they have drinks and all of that, and then all of a sudden the evening's over and you haven't talked to the people you invited. We can be distracted with our lives, kind of our own personal things that we want to do, and not spend time with the Lord. And that leads us off this highway to heaven. One of the things that oftentimes in the sacrament of reconciliation, I'll ask people, how is your spiritual life? Because when we stop praying, when we stop spending time with Jesus, getting to know Him and listening to Him and seeking His grace and His help, that's when we fall into trouble. That's when we sin. That's when we lose direction or lose hope. We have to draw close to the Lord. Jesus confirms this when he responds to Martha, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things. There is need of only one thing. Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken away from her." Jesus makes it very, very clear that we, in the gift of our faith and the pilgrimage of our lives, our highway to heaven, we need to spend time with Jesus. And I would say we need to spend time with him first so that we can do all the different things that we need to do in our lives, but not get distracted. Because, of course, our faith is not all about just sitting at the feet of Jesus. He tells us to work. He tells us to go out. Pope Benedict XVI, in his Lenten message in 2013, said this: "The Christian life consists in continuously scaling the mountain to meet God, and then coming back down bearing the love and strength drawn from him so as to serve our brothers and sisters with God's own love." What Pope Benedict is saying is that we need to be like Mary, spending time with Jesus, to be filled up, to be strengthened, to be loved, to be healed. But then we come down the mountain and we got to be like Martha, eager to work, eager to serve, and to put our faith into action. Those of you who can see, this is a photo of Mud Creek. Has anyone been there? Yeah, man. I go walking there every morning pretty much. Pray the rosary, walk around, do some exercise, and it's one of the ways for me to scale that mountain like we are today, this spiritual mountaintop, to spend time with the Lord. Then I come home and get ready for the day, and then I work. We need that time with the Lord to be focused, to be strengthened, to be sent out. So where are the times during the week, not just on Sunday, that we scale that mountaintop? I've shared a few quotes from the saints in a couple of homilies, so I want to conclude with a few here. I love this quote by St. Augustine: "Pray as though everything depended on God, work as though everything depended on you." Now, this sense, rely on God, but you got to help make those graces and those miracles happen by following where God calls us. St. Teresa of Calcutta, Mother Teresa: "Love cannot remain by itself. It has no meaning. Love has to be put into action, and that action is service." We got to be like Mary, but we also have to be like Martha, but Mary is first, connecting and opening our hearts to the Lord. And this last one from Saint Therese of Lisieux: "Love proves itself by deeds. So how am I to show my love? Great deeds are forbidden me. The only way I can prove my love is by scattering flowers. And these flowers are every little sacrifice, every glance and word, and the doing of the least actions for love." We don't have to do huge, popular, famous, or powerful things. St. Therese knew she couldn't do that, but she could do all those little things of love, of sacrifice, of service to help change the world. Spending time with the Lord and then putting that faith into action so that all of us continue on that highway to heaven. So as I conclude this series and as we continue in the Mass, let's be mindful of being able to, like Mary, kind of sit at the feet of the Master, where he does more of the talking than we do, where we not just listen with our ears, but we listen with our hearts, and to lean on him, to trust in him, to spend time with him so that we can truly put our faith into action.